Thank you so much for having me. I think I'll just tell a little bit about my story and why I love my job so much. Growing up, I definitely was always the girl doing everybody's hair and makeup for dances, and I always like my our hairdresser as a kid told my mom that I was going to be a hairdresser when I was, I think, 5 years old or something like that. Um, So it's definitely always been something I was passionate about. When I was in high school, I had undiagnosed ADD. So school for me was pretty hard. Um, and looking back, I wish I would have known how amazing this career is for someone like me who just didn't really love school necessarily because I wasn't tapping into that part of my brain yet. Um, so I didn't go to beauty school until I was about 26. I worked at restaurants and had lots of different jobs. And by 26, I knew what a not so fun job looks like. And I knew that that was the direction I wanted to go in. I went to cosmetology school up in Shoreline. And at the time I lived in Berrien. Um, it was called Tony and Guy. It's not there anymore, but and it was a great experience. I was a lot older than a lot of the people there. So for me, it was like, go do my work, learn what I need to learn. And while I was in cosmetology school, I met a girl who actually lived right down the street from me. We became friendly, and she was kind of my same age. And she worked at the time at a salon in Capitol Hill, which is I don't work there anymore, but it was kind of ranked best salon in Seattle, and they had a really great training program. And after we became close, she said, I think maybe you'd be a good fit at the salon. And I knew going into beauty school that I wanted to work in the city. That was something that was important to me, as I wanted to work in a higher end salon. And so I went and interviewed, and they hired me that day. And then at the time I would go to school for 3 days, 3 days for 10 hours a day. And then I would go work, to survive. And then I quit that job, started my salon job. So I'd work 2 or 3 days there and kind of learned the front desk and the customer service part of a hair salon. And then once I graduated, I worked the desk for a little bit longer, and they have an apprentice program at that salon. That was also something that was super important to me, because when you go to cosmetology school, you learn literally the basics. And I knew when I left, I was like, okay, I'm a clean slate. Now I want to really learn my craft. So I did like 9 or 10 months of apprenticing, and I just, learned from a woman who had been in the industry for 30 years. She worked in South Africa, Paris, Miami. So she's been around and knows her stuff. And that to me was probably the most invaluable thing that I'll ever take with me in my career, is just the different viewpoint on doing hair. And so I worked there for almost 8 years. And I think during the pandemic, I just decided, you know what? I think it's time for me to branch out on my own and see what, the world has to offer me. I'm 36 now, and I officially bought my salon in July, but came here in March, so almost a year. And it's been great. I've never owned a business before, so I'm kind of figuring it out. I was an employee before, and then now I am renting chairs to 2 people. So it's an amazing career. Oh, sorry, somebody's trying to walk in. Hi, I am on a Zoom call at the moment. Is there any way I can, sorry guys, hold on one second.
I have a bang from with you.
Yeah, perfect. She'll be right back.
Okay.
Just give me like 2 seconds. Okay, sorry. Sorry, she's not supposed to be here yet. So yeah, that's kind of my story.
For that apprenticeship, you probably can't see me, but you probably can hear me.
Yeah.
You said you worked for like 9 or 10 months. You didn't get paid for those whole 9 or 10 months?
No, I did. I did. I mean,
I
I
was gonna
paid
say
minimum
that's
wage,
crazy.
but yeah, I did.
Okay, because it's like, how do you still afford to live your life?
Yeah, you can do, like, you can get a little bit of your hours while you're in cosmetology or barber school, but not very many. So, but
Did you get paid from like the apprenticeships, or were you still working as you were still going to like cosmetology school?
let's see. So I would go to school, and then on my off days, I would go to the salon and work, but just at the front desk. And then once I graduated, worked at the front desk a little bit more, and then did 8 months of apprenticing. But yes, I got paid for that.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's what's up. That's dope. Congrats.
Thanks.
Renee, you touched on something that I think is really interesting about this field, this profession. Is it seems really ripe to for entrepreneurial ventures. So you can kind of make your own business of it once you've got your chops, you know. And so we did an apprenticeship or entrepreneurship rather was our theme of our last event, and so it's kind of feeling like it's tying in with other things we've talked about. Could you tell me maybe an example of something that you know coming out of cosmetology school that you've learned, but you don't know yet in your apprenticeship?
Everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you in cosmetology or barber, you learn how not to hurt someone, you know, the bare minimum. But as far as being like a skilled, ready to take on clients person and do a really great job, you're not quite there yet. It's, in my opinion, it just, for me, I knew I wanted to learn from someone that really knows her craft, and I was willing to be like a completely blank slate and say like, I don't know anything, please teach me. And that was really helpful.
How did you find your mentor?
Well, the gal that I met, I don't know if I'd call her my mentor. She was the owner of the salon that I ended up working at. And it was kind of, you had to apprentice if you wanted to do hair there. So does that make sense? Yeah.
Kind of. How long do you have your shop for? Well,
since July.
Since July.
Mhm.
What is it like being a boss instead of a worker?
It's amazing, actually. It's definitely different not having anybody to answer to, but it's also a lot of pressure. I mean, it's like not having anybody to answer to means you have to like show up on your own. You have to be motivated, and but I mean, it's just it was the best decision I've ever made, for sure.
In your journey getting there, have you ever felt like, damn, this is hella hard, I kind of want to give up, you know? Like what made you continue, and what brought you out of that place
For
where
me,
you wanted to give up?
I think because I was a little bit older, I had worked a lot of not so great jobs, and I knew I just had drive and knew like, this is what I want to do. This is what I was made to do. And there just was no other option for me. And, you know, $25,000 later, cosmetology school, that'll motivate you too.
It costs 25 bands to go to school?
But I went to a nicer school. There's ones that are less expensive, for sure.
On average, what do you think, like, well, was cosmetology school and barber school the same thing?
I would say probably anywhere from 15 to 25 would be my guess.
15 to 25K.
But
is that financial aid?
Like college, it's an investment in the future, but don't let that discourage you, because
I just started paying on my loans. I had them deferred till now, so you're fine on that front.
Loans and scholarships.
I'm about to say, because 15 to 25K is tough. You know, I'm coming from White Center. I'm not one of those kids that just got a lot of bread, you know? So it's
my family didn't pay for anything. I just got loans, and I mean, if you're able to get scholarships, that's great. I didn't. I still owe a good amount on mine, but you know, it didn't stop. There was no like, that's the thing that's going to stop me from doing this, because I knew if I invest in my career, I'll be able to pay that easily. And I mean, I had a tiny little studio. I lived with my mom during beauty school. I guess that would be where I got the help. And then I had a tiny little, not very nice studio for a long time. And now I own my own home, and I just got a new car and I have a new business. But you know, it took time, but I
Can you
definitely
talk-
didn't have anybody just handing me cash to do any of it.
Can you talk a little bit about the process from switching from working at a shop to owning your own shop, and discuss like where you know your
So at the
clientele?
salon that I was at before, we had what's called a non-compete agreement. So you sign that and you basically say like, if and when you decide to leave, you can't advertise where you're going. You can't market yourself to your existing clients, because the salon that I worked at before paid for the marketing. They gave me those clients. So they're not technically my clients. They were the salon's clients. So in leaving, I lost a lot of clients. But if they reach out to you and they find you on their own, you can say, okay, here's where I'm at. And then I also contacted a lawyer and just told them the situation and said, hey, I've got people reaching out to me. I'm kind of panicking. I don't want to be in breach of contract. So we drafted up a little form that said, Renee didn't reach out to me. I found her on my own. I would have not gone back to that salon if she wasn't there. And then that gave me a lot of peace of mind. But you know, another thing I learned at that salon is watching them, how they do marketing and how they get clients. Like I really paid attention to that the whole 8 years that I was there. And so, I mean, we have new clients coming in every single day because I now know how to market myself in my salon because of the time that I spent watching the owners of the other salon.
Without giving any trade secrets away or anything, can you tell how you get new clients? I mean, I know usually it's word of mouth, but are you advertising, and what are the costs around that?
Let's see. So, you know, Instagram is great. Referrals are amazing. All my favorite clients are people that, you know, they already are looking forward to seeing you because their friend sees you. Those are always my favorite clients. I use Yelp. I have good reviews on Yelp, and it's not cheap, but it pays for itself tenfold. So.
Fantastic, Renee. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Does
you're
anybody else have any more questions for Renee?
I'll just say one last thing. You chose to go into this on your own for a business, but you can make a perfectly good living working for a salon and
I didn't leave
keeping that.
because I wasn't making money. I left because I wasn't that happy anymore.
So you don't need all that pressure if you don't want it. You can you can be a stylist and do just fine working for a company as well.
Well, yeah, and you don't have to pay your own taxes. You don't have to pay for health insurance. Like I know how to do all those things, but I made 6 figures at that job, and I just wasn't super happy anymore. So
That was your personal pathway. It's one of many in the industry.
yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Renee, we had a question in the chat. Do you do your own hair?
I don't. My coworker Kayla does it, but I did style it today on my own.
Which
Renee,
looks
thank you so much
fabulous.
for your time today. We really
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you so much, Renee. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome. It was nice to meet everybody. But yeah, last thing to say, it's an amazing career. No matter what path you take, it's the best job ever. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.